Hey there, everybody. We're going to be looking at SPSS, how to analyze your data today using repeated measures, t-test, and a correlation. So first, we're going to start out with the repeated measures test. It's similar to an ANOVA. Um, so first, we're on our variable view. It really doesn't matter. We're going to go to analyze. Um, First, you really just want to output your descriptives. So you're going to come to frequency, and you're come down to, let's say we're going to do our perceived stress variable. We're going to put all three of those in there. Um, our statistics that we want are, you want standard deviation, you want your range, you want your min and max. You also want your mean, median, and that should be a good starting point. This just helps you out looking at what this helps you looking at, like, how variable is it, what's how big is your range, what's your minimum, just really basic stuff. So that's your frequencies. Now we're actually going to start doing the repeated measures. So you're going to come down here to general linear model repeated measures. So basically our factor, our within subject factor, is time, and our number of levels was 3 because we had a start, midpoint, end. So you're going to now define that time point. So we're going to come down here and find our perceived stress. You're going to select all of them and put them over. Now you're going to do options. So I would do the effect. I would put the effect size in, and that's about all that I would do. You can do other things, like you can do between subject factors. So, like, let's say you have groups of like anxious people and non-anxious people. You would put in your like here we had our anxious people groups, um, which is coded like ones and zeros. One being they have anxiety, zero meaning they don't. So if you put that in there, it'll make it a basically a 3x2 ANOVA. But for our case right here, we're just gonna do a simple a 1x3. So we're gonna click OK, and we're gonna come down here to our within subject effects. So basically, this is saying over the time period, over sessions 1, 2, and 3, was there a change in between those groups of people? And we do see a change because our significance, our p value, is 0.01, and it needs to be less than 0.05. So it is less than 0.05. And then also, we're going to come over here and look at our partial eta squared, or our effect size, and it's pretty big. Um, so that kind of backs up our significance. So basically, when you're reporting, you're gonna be taking your p-value, your effect size. Um, but yeah, that's basically your ANOVA. We didn't have a between subjects, so that this is really not doesn't matter. So that's your repeated measures. Um, so now we're gonna move into the t-test. So t-test, you can have paired or unpaired. Unpaired is if, let's say, you give one group of people a a pill, and you have another group of people that you don't. There's no crossover. They're not the same people. They're different people. That's where you would do unpaired or an independent t-test. But in our case here, we did the same people over 8 weeks. We took their beginning point and their end point. Uh, it's the same people over. It's kind of like a before and after type effect, so that's going to be paired. So for our case, we're going to do a paired. So we're going to come over here to compare means. We're going to do paired samples t-test. And in a t-test, you can only have one pair. So let's do session 1 and session 3. PS or perceived stress. So session 1, session 3. Not going to do anything with options, and you're just going to click OK. And that should give you your t-test. And you're going to come down here to your paired samples t-test, and you're going to look at your significance. And we had a 0.09, which is very close to being very significant. But we do have significance with 0.0 being less than 0.05. And yeah, that's what a t-test will tell you, is if your means are different. So basically our session 1 and session 3, our means were definitely different. So that's how to do a t-test. And now we're going to do a correlation. This is if you're trying to relate one variable to another and see if there's a relationship there. So we're going to come up to analyze. We're going to come down here to correlate. We're doing a bivariate correlation. So let's say we're going to do perceived stress and our resilience score. So it's going to relate both of those together. We might as well do means and standard deviation. We're going to do the Pearson because it is parametric data. That means you can take an average. You would do Spearman if it was like nominal data or really skewed data. We'll do two-tailed and we'll hit OK. And we can see our correlations. So we had a Pearson correlation of, there's a negative correlation of really low, like really bad. There really isn't a correlation because look at our significance, it's 0.96. That's meaning that there's no correlation at all. If it was less than 0.05, then that would tell us it is a correlation, because the null hypothesis is that they don't have a correlation. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis here. So that's correlation. You might be doing this in a variety of ways. It'll really just depend on what you're doing in your study. But that's how to do frequencies, repeated measures, t-test, and a correlation in SPSS. Thank you guys, and see you later.